1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. Wednesday show live. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It's the Wednesday show. We are live, and I am your host, Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we have Tony Scott. Tony, how are things? All good?
Yeah, all good. Sadly, there's an international break, but we can still talk all things Everton.
There is an international break. We'll come on to that. We'll come on to whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's a much needed 2 weeks off, or whether maybe we needed to keep, momentum. I don't know whether it's the right word to use, but, keep things going, keep things ticking along, because Brentford next, obviously, but we know we've got what's coming around the corner with games against Manchester United, Wolves, Liverpool, which is obviously going to be crucial to the season. So, today's agenda, it is the West Ham final word. We'll give that to Tony. We'll also look at the latest on the Friedkin Takeover and the latest on that. And we'll even discuss the latest on David Coote and the viral video, which surfaced this week. we've also got some transfer rumours and news available for you. So a bit of a mixed bag of topics today. And as mentioned, we are live, so get your questions and get your comments in, and we'll read them as we go and read the rest at the end. As always, give this video a thumbs up, drop us a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Just a final reminder, the Kevin Sheedy interview, as Chris Beasley has mentioned previously on a couple of shows, as part of the Goodison Park My Home series. It will be dropping on Friday morning. You'll be able to find that on all Royal Blue video and audio platforms. It will be a good listen. I haven't actually had a chance to edit it yet, but I was in the room. I was present when Kevin was here, and probably, do you think one of the greatest, if not Everton's greatest left-footed player of all time, or best left foot of all time, do you think?
Well, he gets in Everton's greatest ever side, without doubt. Left foot. It's an argument maybe a certain Leighton Baines would have something to say about that, I'm sure. I
was going to ask you for comparisons, and obviously, Chris, you use comparisons as like Dwight McNeil, but I think Leighton Baines and maybe even Luca Dean, coming up third, fourth, or fifth.
Well.
And the Limpard. I think Baines might give him a run for his money.
Yeah, Baines got the longevity as well with Leighton Baines as well. Anders Limpard has a wonderful left foot as well. Pienaar could come into the mix as well. He was 2-footed, so yeah, I think Leighton Baines is probably the one that will probably try and get close. But Kevin Sheedy, I think someone said he could open a tin of beans with his left foot. He was just unbelievable, and straight away, as soon as I think of Kevin Sheedy, I think of that rocket of a left foot he had, which sailed into the top corner of the Cop end, which was the celebrations, I'm sure, were monumentous that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's get into it then. I've given you the agenda. But obviously, West Ham was a couple of days ago now, Tony. Me, Gav, Buckland, and Chris Beasley talked in depth about the game on Monday's pod. So if you want to listen to that, go back and listen to it, or give it a watch on the YouTube channel. But obviously, I haven't been on since, Tony. I haven't been on in probably 2 or 3 weeks now. But give you the final words on West Ham. What did you make of the performance? What did you make of the result?
Results, I thought West Ham were there for the taking. I thought if Everton had a little bit more belief in themselves, and what I mean by Everton, I mean the players and the manager. I mean the tactics as well. I just thought, probably West Ham would think about us being there for the taking themselves. But I thought with Everton, the formation that they set up with Takori in a 10, who's effectively defensive midfielder. Everton already have a Mangala and Guy in there, so they've got 3 holding midfielders with the back 4 as well, which they're not. The full-backs don't really halfway across the line, do they? So back 4 and a 3 in front. I just thought everyone was super negative, and you're never going to win games of football like that. Just relying on a ball up the pitch and winning second balls and set pieces. It's highly unlikely you win games of football playing that way. Hence why we've won 7 games in 32, is it now? So I think if you're on the front foot and maybe you've got a little bit of creativity, which we have in Elemendy, I think he's using the wrong position. I think he's just drifting out on the left. He's not getting hardly a touch of the ball. I think he's the only player that we've actually got that will get you up the pitch. I've seen several examples of that against West Ham where he took 1 player, 2 players on, 3 players on. He's got Everton up the pitch and there's not an Everton player within 10 or 15 yards of him. He's looking round, and Mangala, Decore, and it's just a guy like 25, 30 yards behind him, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin's obviously being marked by 2 centre-backs. So it's not pretty to watch. It's definitely not pretty to watch. And when it's not pretty to watch, you've got to get results. You have to get results, because obviously fans are not happy with what's getting served up at the moment. So result-wise, it's another point. Performance-wise, it's just not pretty to watch, is it?
I mean, I think whether you agree or not, I think a lot of people probably did disagree with me. I felt it was a better performance, but the bar's been so low this season. I felt we started the game off well, then West Ham kind of got back into it with a couple of chances, started the second half fairly well, and then West Ham came back into it with a couple of chances. I just felt like they had the more clear-cut chances, and for anyone to go out and say we were unlucky not to win the game, we didn't have that many clear-cut chances compared to West Ham. No. Even with West Ham's poor performance and the fact that they were there for the taking, I just felt that they had the better of the chances, the clear opportunities.
Pickford had a world-class save to me.
If it wasn't for him, Jordan, then we would have lost that game.
Without question. I think at the last, when we played, it was the game, the away game before that, I think Everton's XG over the last 2 games like being 0.8 or 0.9. So the way Everton set up, let's make no bones about it, the way they set up, they rely on second balls and set pieces. That's it. They don't create many chances. It's normally balls in the box and hope for the second ball, and that's the way it is. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, that's a debate in itself. Whether it keeps us in the division is 50-50 at the moment, because you're seeing teams now, Southampton, Ipswich, all of a sudden you're thinking, they're not staying up. Got wins. Southampton beat us. Yep. Ipswich have just went to Tottenham. A game that we got absolutely wiped the floor with, 4-0. By playing negative football. So you're going, hang on, you're sitting back going, well, we thought these teams were never coming out of it. We already thought, I remember speaking to you a couple of weeks ago, on this podcast, and we said we're hoping that Nottingham Forest are going to be in the mix with us. They're gone. Yeah. The Forest are out of it. I
think they'll drop. I think they're in a false position, but I think their mandate for the season is to stay up, and they're pretty much halfway there, aren't they?
They'll finish mid-table, whereas in we're now, you could look at the squad and there's an argument to say it's where it should be, but I don't think that. I think where we finished last season, and we sold Amadou Onana, he was hardly kicking a ball for us anyway.
Didn't even play in any of the good games or the good results that we had.
He was coming on to time waste, basically, in the last 10 minutes of games. The Merseyside derby springs to mind, Brentford, all these games where he was coming on just to show the game up at the end. He was hardly used. We sold him for 50 million, and then we bought 4 or 5 players with it. Iliman Ndiaye, Jasper Lindstrom, Jake O'Brien. But we bought players, so theoretically you're thinking, hang on, well, we finished just below mid-table last season. We sold Onana, 50 million in, spent a few quid on decent players. You're thinking, hang on, well, maybe try and get 12th or 13th. But I don't think we should be anywhere near where we should be at the moment. I expect better, considering we had the easiest start to anyone else in the Premier League.
I mean, I think expectations key, isn't it? And we've talked about this quite a bit. I think at least consolidate or try to kick on a little bit. I don't think anyone was suggesting European football. I don't even think anyone was suggesting top 10. But it's looking right now under this manager that we're going to be, well, we're already dragged into a bit of a dogfight.
We've got 11 games gone, 10 points. So work that out over a 38-game season. It probably averages out at 30. You probably end up with 35 points. Would that keep you in the division? I don't know.
Well, I think it has in the past, hasn't it? But it's still not good enough. Still not good enough. Okay, well, it is the final word on West Ham. Obviously, Brentford next international break. In between that, I think we'll come on to Brentford, but you might not be on the show before Brentford, so they haven't won away from home all season, although they've had a fairly decent start to the season. I think they've won pretty much nearly enough every single one of their home games.
Beat Bournemouth last time out.
Yeah, which was a good 3-2 win. It's got to be a must. It's got to be a win.
But didn't we finish above Brentford last season? Or finish close?
Well, we beat them twice as well.
Beat them twice. Finished in around them, if not above them last season. And they've sold Ivan Toney. and they've progressed them. So this is why I'm thinking the logic about beyond what's going on at the moment, because although obviously they're quite direct themselves, Brentford, they get bodies in the box. They flood that box. Look when Everton play. When they're getting, there's no bodies getting in the box at all.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Tony, because you would have thought, or I certainly thought, that they would certainly have struggled for goals. I know I can't remember his name, but they brought in someone, haven't they, who's kind of hit the ground running.
Reece and Bueno up front, which obviously they're a handful for anyone. But they sold a 30 goal a season, man. And they're hard to replace. Yeah. So for a team that was struggling last season, that we finished in and around, and they've sold a 30 goal a season, man, you think they're going to struggle. I don't see them struggling. I see them playing, yet they may be direct from set pieces, but one thing I do see from them, that they're going to attack and win games. And there's no coincidence, they've got 3 or 4 wins themselves. Yeah. Hence, we've got 2, and it's been poor.
Just that gamble, isn't it? It's not, I don't even think it's a gamble, really.
It's getting bodies in the box. If you're showing your impetus to go and try and win a game more often than not, you will win one. There's a reason why Everton have only won 7 games out of 30 odds. It's because they're not going out to attack and win games more often than what they should. The performance against Fulham at home was diabolical. Yeah. It was poor. We got away with that one. Performance against Southampton wasn't the best. Southampton have knocked us out the cup this season and beaten us. That's over 2 games. Southampton have got championship players. There's no excuse. Again, obviously, the hands are tied and everything else. We've had injuries, no different injuries to anyone else. But we had more or less a full-strength squad to go down to Southampton with. And they were poor. They were poor. They didn't look like creating a chance at all. Yeah, towards the end when the game was ebb and flowing. But I want to see Everton. And this is where I'm like confused here, and we'll probably speak about it in depth in a minute. When Everton played Bournemouth this season, it's the best I've seen Everton play under Sean Dyche. They had that perfect balance of being watertight at the back, but having a go, being adventurous, getting bodies in the box. Scored 2 great goals, could have been a lot more. Everton were flying. That's the perfect blend. Albeit the last 10 minutes was obviously a nightmare in injury time when they didn't defend crosses properly and they didn't close a game out. But apart from that's the best I've seen, Everton.
Do you think it's affected Dyche's mindset slightly?
100%.
Because of how open and maybe attacking we were in that last 10 minutes. The game was virtually won at 2-0. I'm not saying his instructions were to go on an attack, and I don't even think the players' instructions in their own mind should have been go on attack, but obviously we know what happened. We conceded 3. We were too open. I think we've talked about this all day. Substitutions could have been made, players flagging, fatigue, etc. I mean, obviously, there's my question. Do you think that has just haunted him and he just thinks we can't be too open, we can't play like that again this season?
You can if you showed the defence out in the last 5 or 10 minutes. Which, that was perfect.
In a way, he has, though, a little bit.
Yeah, it's been double negative now. So basically, what went on? We were brilliant against Bournemouth. Obviously, didn't stop the crosses. Trying to carry on for the 3rd and 4th, which makes no sense. I think Irabunam's found that to his consequences. We haven't seen him since that Bournemouth game. Yeah, he's been injured as well. Now, isn't he? But then we went to Villa the week after and took the lead twice and then got beat 3-2. So in his mind, he's going, hang on, this can't continue. And I get that. As a manager, you've took the lead twice in 2 games and the opposition have come back. So something seriously needs to obviously come to a halt. So I get is that, but it's super negative at the moment in terms of what's being...
He should be able to take those certainly first opening periods, certainly first half against Brighton. Sorry, not Brighton, Bournemouth. Little bit of the second half as well. And then obviously against Villa, we look quite good attacking wise. He should be able to take, portions of that and mix it up with, when you say you take a 1-0 lead or a 2-0 lead, you're able to sit back and, keep things compact and keep things tight and then, hit teams on the counter-attack and stuff like that. We haven't been able to do that since.
No, and I think it's getting that balance, and I think that's what the manager's kind of struggled with since the Bournemouth and Villa games, is getting that balance. At the moment, we're playing with 3 defensive midfielders and a back 4 that don't cross the halfway line. So you're playing with 7 men behind the ball straight away. Then maybe you've got Lindstrom and McNeil, Iliman and Calvert-Lewin, and for all extensive purposes, Everton could have Erling Haaland playing up front for them at the moment. It's not going to make a blind bit of difference.
Is that a bit of a defence then for Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
It's just for anyone. It's for Beto, it's for Calvert-Lewin, it could be for Brozier who comes in.
He's taken a bit of stick though, Calvert-Lewin, hasn't he, since probably, I'd say, the Ipswich game, where even though we did win that game, he had a couple of chances one-on-one where he's missed. But I do think a lot of people have suggested this, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. he just doesn't look the same player, or where, I'm not criticising his attitude because I don't know what goes on in his head or what goes on behind closed doors, but he certainly hasn't looked the same player in the early couple of stages of the season, because I thought he did okay, even though we were losing games.
Yeah, listen, his body language isn't the best, but I look at the rest of the Everton team, and is anyone body language the best? Is anyone running around? Is anyone making a difference? Is anyone... and this may sound stupid, I think only Ashley Young I'm looking at the moment that actually wants it, who's up for a fight, who's getting stuck in, who's having a go at the referee, who's trying to galvanise the team. I don't see many smiles on any faces in the Everton squad at the moment. I can't remember the last time an Everton player actually smiles on the pitch, which says a lot, and I'm not sure whether a few of these players are happy with the way Everton are playing at the moment. Because I'm not being funny, it doesn't matter if you're in 5-a-side or 11-a-side, whatever it is in terms of football, if you're not happy the way that the setup is, your body language is going to show. If the ball's getting knocked up to you on the pitch, and you've got two, because it's happened against Fulham and loads of games this season, when the ball's getting knocked up the pitch for Michael Keane or Tarkowski or a big long diagonal, the midfield's getting bypassed. So it's a big long one. What's Calvert-Lewin meant to do? What is he meant to do against two big centre-backs? He'll just smother him, take the ball off him, and then he'll chase round for 5 or 10 minutes. Some may argue he's not chasing round, but when Beto comes on, he'll chase round, and then he's got his arms in the air, or he's obviously on the halfway line looking for a breather. It's not ideal for any centre-forward to score goals, and I get he's missed a couple of chances this season, but in my mind, you're thinking, I might get this chance again, and I'm rushing at it.
Whereas he's always been like that, though, hasn't he?
A top 10 team, you're probably getting 3 or 4 chances a game, maybe 2 or 3. With Everton, you're getting 1, max 2, hence why Everton's XG is low as it's been, because you're not getting many chances put through to you.
Even the Fulham game, when he scored in the last minute, there wasn't a smile on Beto's face. It was more just anguish and relief, really.
Yeah, of course, and that's the way. It's because chances are a premium. The way the team is set up, it's like defence, midfield, sit in front of the defence, McNeil or Lindstrom, Iliman you try and take 3 or 4 players on, winners of foul, balls, second balls. That's the way it's set up. Whether Evertonians like it or not, it's the way it is, it's the way it has been, and it's the way it's going to continue all season until we get the points that keeps us in the Premier League.
Okay, well, we'll move on from assessing the season, I guess, so far and the West Ham final word. We'll move on to the Friedkin takeover of Everton Football Club and the latest update. So we can just read out here, the Friedkin Group's takeover of Everton Football Club has now passed the FCA and FA approval tests. They now await approval from the Premier League's owners and directors test ahead of completing the takeover. So we kind of discussed in detail the Friedkins and what's going on at Roma on Monday's podcast. So again, if anyone who's listening now wants to go back and watch or listen to that, you can do. Give it a go. But first off, I guess let's start with a positive on that. Positive news that the ball's certainly rolling and maybe coming to a conclusion. I think we're looking at a December date, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that'll be an ideal Christmas present for every Evertonian, wouldn't it? And it's not, listen, the Friedkins, what we're hearing at Roma, it isn't going according to plan, with the result of a few seconds at the moment. But it's relief that Farhad Moshiri is no longer in charge of Everton. And we know how poor his regime has been at Everton. And what I mean by that, I mean recruitment, I mean changes of managers, I mean the financial situation we found ourselves in with point deductions, and the squad the way it is at the moment is a mishmash of players. Well, I think this season, I think if I remember rightly, we've got 7 players who are in contract. It would be deemed first team players, the rest all got on freeze. Yeah.
A huge rebuilding job.
So it's a big, massive reset button for Everton at the end of the season. Hopefully we're in the Premier League for that, which I'm sure will be a glamorous vacancy to anyone, whether it be a director of football, whether it be a recruitment guy, whether it be a manager, whoever it may be. He's going to come into a brand new Everton with a brand new owner, potentially. An unbelievable world-class stadium. And with fans, with the relief now, we can move forward instead of looking behind, because that's all it's been over the past 3 or 4 years, is like looking on mistakes and why we're here. I think last year brought that up superbly in terms of like where we're at. We're going, you're just wondering, like the money we've wasted in the past 5 or 6 years has been absolutely insane. It really has, and that's why Farhad Moshiri has lost the best part of 800 to 900 million, and he's not going to get a single penny back. And the disaster in his financial pocket is only had the repercussions of Everton as well. It's been nothing short of, and I wouldn't say, it's probably embarrassing as well, because as an Evertonian, like yourself, Ian, we were all getting a little bit giddy when Moshiri took over. Thinking, hang on, we've got this billionaire. We've had Bill Kenwright, who was the millionaire, and now we've got the billionaire. We were hoping that we could compete with the likes of the Man Cities of the world, and slowly but surely we've got Ronald Koeman in, and then we were signing players, and we're all going. And at the time, there was one or two of us going, we're signing too many number 10s here. We're signing Sandro Ramirez, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Wayne Rooney, all these players. But I think at the time, we're going, we're just signing these boss players, we're going to get up there. And it never materialised at all. It was just a mess between agents being heavily involved and having a big influence with the owner. Directors of football having their say, chairmans having their say, managers having their say. So when that eventually happens, when not everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet, it's a catastrophe, and that's what's happened, and that's why Everton have felt the financial consequence of where they're at the moment in terms of the squad and how good enough it is. Yeah, it is good enough to stay in the Premier League in terms of looking at the opposition, but there's light at the end of the tunnel now, Ian, in terms of what the Friedkins are about. Yeah, we're seeing little bits of trouble at Roma, which you can obviously we'll talk about managers and that and the situation in a minute, but I think what the biggest thing we will see once it goes through by Premier League approval, I think the biggest sigh of relief will become from Everton fans. It'll just be that word relief. Thank God that's gone. It's in the past. It's been a really bad roller coaster ride, but now we can look forward to Bramley Moore and huge potential with this new owners.
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a couple of weeks ago, months ago, whatever, mid-season, certainly towards the end of the last season, there was major concerns or real concerns that the club could go into administration as well. So we need this takeover to go through, don't we? Yeah. You know, without this takeover, you just don't know what the future holds for Everton. You go back to square one. I think Moshiri would probably be pulling his hair out if he's not already about the whole situation. Again, if this falls through, fingers crossed it doesn't. Fingers crossed, you know, we can get it over the line. You know, you touched on it there. We did mute a few concerns from the Friedkins with regards to how they seem to be running Roma on the pitch. Even today, I don't know whether this has progressed since we've come on or whatever, but reports have suggested that they're going to be bringing in Claudio Ranieri out of retirement to coach the side. So that's Sky Italia say a deal is close for Claudio Ranieri to make his return to Roma and replace the sacked Zurich. I mean, first of all, any concerns that how quick they're going through managers? I mean, even Moshiri didn't go through 2 in one season, did he? Or I mean, I know we had maybe interim and stuff like that.
Well, Sean Dyche is the longest serving manager under Farber Moshiri's reign, believe it or not.
And let's face it, all due respect, the only real reason, certainly after that 13-game winless run, that he's probably still in the job, for me anyway, this is me freestyling, is that Moshiri just didn't care.
No, yeah, and he wasn't able to make any statements at the time or anything else. The board had long gone. I think you're looking at they're going to be better than Farber Moshiri. They can't be any
They've got
worse.
to be better. They've
got to be better. The worry for me, I look at Roma and what's happened there, and they made an excellent appointment in Jose Mourinho, and the success followed. Crowds were on board, and then there's been, obviously, I think it was the director of football or the CEO resigned in that time, and then they've gone through 2 or 3 caretakers in that time, into Rossi and obviously Zurich, and now they've gone with Ranieri approach, which is like, wow. I'm open. And this sounds really selfish from an Everton perspective. I'm hoping that they've kind of thrown the towel in with Roma and thought, right, if we're focusing on the big Premier League prize here with Everton, because they've made some catastrophe decisions there in terms of the 2 caretaker managers sacked in the space of a couple of months.
I mean, just to interrupt there, I don't think anyone's questioning Claudio Ranieri's credentials.
No,
but for someone who is actively in retirement, 73 years old, you know, I'm not being ageist in any way, shape or form, but for me that kind of smacks us that you don't have much footballing knowledge of who's available, or maybe, I don't know, I mean, Gav Buckland on Monday's show suggested that reports have suggested that they're using like outside consultants to appoint these managers. For me, if all this is true, it kind of just smacks us that there's not much knowledge there of the footballing game. Of
course, yeah, and that's one thing that we've been kind of used to at Everton in the past 5 or 6 years. There's been some football knowledge there, but it hasn't been used to the level what it should be. Because you think about that, as much as some of the directors of football that have been at Everton the past 10 years, and all due respect to them, they've got a wealth of knowledge and loads of contacts, but some of them have been undermined by Moshiri, by chairman, by CEOs, and it's been a mess. And agents have obviously overruled. We've seen this week that Iraola was so close to getting Mario Balotelli.
Yeah, Brands revealed that, didn't he?
Exactly, Marcel Brands revealed that. I'm sure if you were to quiz Marcel Brands, you'd probably quiz him about several examples that he made at Everton which didn't go to plan. Like Jean-Philippe Gbamin, for example. So there's lots of arguments. So everyone will say that they're right and that they're wrong. But one thing that the Friedkins definitely have to do is build a structure in place. Yeah. And I mean that from grassroots recruitment right up until under 23 and the football and to first team football inside of it, because that's one thing that there's not everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. You look at the likes of Brighton and although Palace are struggling at the moment, but there's other examples in there, and Brighton and Fulham. You look at the structure of the football club and it's well built from under 23 to under 18, under 16, under 7, whatever it may be, grassroots football. Now I'm heavily involved in grassroots football myself and an under-8 coach. And there was a couple of scouts, believe it or not, last week, I was watching a game before my game, my lads' game, and there was 2 Everton scouts, and believe it or not, a Manchester City scout in there as well. Manchester City have flooded the market with grassroots coaching, by the way. So I fully expect to see a lot of scousers in the Manchester City team sooner rather than later. And I seen the 2 Everton scouts there, and they were on the phone for about half an hour as the matches are going on. I'm going, maybe that's the way they work and they're sending data through, I don't know. But I'm going, you look with your eyes, you're on your phone, and I would just want someone ruthless to come in here and go, right, this club's starting from scratch. Yeah. We are hitting the biggest reset button from grassroots football. I want scouts right rounds, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, and then I want the under-17s playing the same way, 18s, 23s, first team. This is our manager, whether you like it or lump it, for the next 3 years. Whether results go our way, this is the way we're setting up going forward. And I want a footballer man or woman, whoever it may be, to come in there and go, right, this is the plan going forward for the next 3 years inside the Bramley Moor. Recruitment, everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet, scouting, everything. So it's in line. Look at Brighton. Brighton are the prime example of what it should be doing. I'm sure that Tony Bloom goes into Brighton and I bet you every single person in there is doing what they should be. Because if not, they're gone. He made examples of that this week. He's laid two or three of them off. Because obviously they're not doing what they should be doing. Ruthless, you've got to be ruthless from the top. And if it's not working, you've got to do it.
I couldn't agree with you more on the grassroots. I think that's obviously going to take a little bit of time. I think the most important thing now is
it's the foundation. Sorry, and that's
the foundations.
And Everton haven't had the foundations for a long while.
No, I think we have in the past, haven't we? And I think that's certainly doesn't exist anymore. I think from my point of view, right now, Sean Dyche is still the Everton manager, and we've got to respect that because he effectively just still the Everton manager, whether that you don't want him there or you do want him there. I think I can't see him being long for this Everton world if Friedkin is going to mirror what he's done at Roma when he comes in at Everton.
100%.
So, where would you stand? Where would you stand on that in terms of? Don't get me wrong, like I say, grassroots foundation, but right now we're in a bit of a sticky situation ourselves, aren't we? We could end up in a relegation fight. We probably are in a relegation fight. We need to stay up this season. We need to stay up every season. It's a silly thing to say, but obviously it's never been more important to go into next season in the Premier League. I think if things carry on the way they're going, we've already dwelled on past performances, the season so far, etc. But if performances and results probably don't pick up, I think maybe even if they do pick up, I again, this is just me, an observation, freestyling. I wouldn't be surprised if a decision is made on Sean Dyche's future as soon as the Friedkins come in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised myself.
Would you think they'd give him a little bit of time, a few games to see how he goes, or would it just literally be ruthless, bang, you're gone, we've got a man in ourselves?
Well, they've been ruthless at Roma, haven't they?
That's what I mean.
They've been absolutely ruthless, and it's right. If Everton get to January, we're going to have new owners with money to spend. By the looks of it, Friedkins will have some cash to spend. So they'll look at it and go, right, do we trust the current director of football and the current manager to go and bring players in to keep us afloat? That's an argument for any Everton.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a question.
Looking at what's been bought in right now in the last, 2 or 3 windows, I it's think an argument to say Jasper Lindstrom, Jake O'Brien. Would you give this current setup money to spend?
I think it's probably an easier question for us to answer as Everton fans and Blues who may not even disagree with me or you, or sorry, agree with me or you. I think new people coming into the club, they probably don't feel the same as us or have the knowledge as us. Yeah. It's going to take a little bit of time. I just think he is being quite ruthless at Roma, and then I wouldn't be surprised if it's a change is made sooner rather than later when he comes in.
But then this is the conundrum for him, is that when we go into the Bramley-Moore, hopefully we're a Premier League club, does he give this manager, the next manager, potentially new manager, would he give him a 6-month contract just to get us in the Bramley-Moore? Or does he see the long term straight away as soon as he comes in? Does he go, right, I've got a vision for Everton, I've got football and people in here, there's my manager, when you've heard rumours of Sarri and Mancini, does he go, right, there's new manager, keep us in the Premier League, and you've got a 3 or 4 year contract, and that we're in the Bramley-Moore for the next 2 or 3 years with you as the manager. As your recruitment team, as your new scouting, as your director of football, and that's the way we're going to play. Does he do that, or does he come in and go, right, get us, till I say David Moyes? David Moyes, see us get into the Bramley, and maybe you're on a see as you go. Do you know what I mean? There's your 6-month contract until we get to the Bramley, and if he starts playing decent football and haven't getting results, there's a year contract. I don't know.
No. I think just on the Moyes, you can't have freestyling a little bit, but I can't see him just accepting a 6-month deal. He would want at least 18 months to 2 years, because I think he'd probably be the right man to come in if Dyche was to be sacked, and he'd probably keep us up, and then he'd want us to be given the opportunity.
But isn't that the aim? We've just got to stay up, and if David Moyes is the answer to keeping this team in the division, then
but then is he gonna want to sack Moyes in the summer? It's all different, but there's a lot going to happen, I think, over the next month or two, isn't there?
Do you know what? In an ideal world, I'm sure lots of Evertonians would agree with this, I think Sean Dyche keeps this team in the division, and then obviously his contract's finished, and then Everton start afresh. I think that would be an ideal world. Yeah. Obviously,
well,
Dyche
no one's sacked then, are they? And just kind of, it's a mutual partner of the ways.
Exactly. He gets his big bonus. Everton in the Premier League, inside the brand new stadium, and everyone's a winner. But I do think there's going to be big changes at Everton, and a new structure is desperately needed at the football club. And even in terms of today, like if you go and watch the under-23s, and what insensitive is it for an under-23 player, if you're playing a bit of football, you're playing out from the back, or you're playing in midfield, and you look to get on the ball and create a few chances, and you look at the first team, the way they're playing, you're going, I'm never going to fit in that team, the way their team's set up. They play with 3 defensive midfielders, a back 4 that doesn't cross the halfway line. I'm never going to get a chance there. Yeah. And this is where everything's got to be underlined. It doesn't matter if you're from the chairman to the owner to the chief executive to the first team manager to the under-23 manager, under-16, everything's got to be underlined, and right through to the grassroots scouting. Everyone's got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, and quite clearly it hasn't happened in the last 5 or 10 years. No.
I think final point on it from me is you would expect once the takeover is complete and Friedkin, Finch Fight comes to Goodison Park, Finch Farm, etc. You would expect them to meet with Thelwell. You would expect them to meet with Dyche. That's what I would think. They might make a good impression. That's fair enough. But if results don't pick up, then he would only have to look at results and just be like, well, the results aren't great. But then the other option is, like we've just kind of suggested there, he could just come in and just be like, no, sorry, handshake, thanks for everything, but see you later. Sure kind of what he's doing with Roma.
Yeah, that's what he's doing with Roma. And if you've got the bottle, so to speak, to sack Jose Mourinho, you've got the bottle to sack anyone, haven't you, really?
I think he wants it to be sack Mourinho. You know what he's like. I hope people don't see this as a negative conversation.
It's a realistic conversation. What could be potentially happen in the next 6 to 12 months.
No. I just seen a couple after the Monday's pod where we talked at length about Friedkin and, observing what's going on at Roma. It's not a negative perception. It's just, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Friedkins coming in. I think it's the best option available at this moment in time. I know options are limited, etc., but it is the best option available, which is hopefully going to be, a brighter future for the club and, everything that we've just discussed there. Maybe they should get us on the payroll, Tony, and we can build a foundation and a structure and stuff. Okay, where are we? 35 minutes in. Shall we talk about David Coote?
Oh, wow.
Bit of a non-related Everton topic, I guess. But obviously, I'm sure if you don't know, you've obviously been stuck under a rock. But if you don't know, I'll read for context. A video appearing to show Premier League referee David Coote making derogatory comments about Liverpool and their former manager Jurgen Klopp was widely circulated on social media on Monday. Coote has been suspended by the PGMOL, which is investigating along with the FA. What do you make of it? I was like, open question, really. What did you first think when you saw that?
When I saw it, I thought, my instant reaction was, wow. Straight away.
What a wally.
What in a high profile job of that magnitude, what would even possess you to do anything like that is beyond belief. Beyond belief. And obviously someone sat on that video for a long period of time and thought, I'm gonna do you over in a few years' time. And he's obviously has a falling out with someone, and that someone has went, right, watch this go viral. And it went viral. It's not good. It's not professional.
Criticise Scousers as well.
I know.
What's wrong with us Scousers?
What's wrong with his refereeing? I think. Do you know what? I've believe it or not, I've started me. Obviously at a lower level, me refereeing career at grassroots level, and doing vets games and doing like 108 games, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's a difficult job, and you've got to understand every rule, and especially this season with grassroots, the rules are changing. You can't head the ball, etc., and it's kick-ins instead of throw-ins. So it's understanding the new rules of the game. So it's a very, very difficult job refereeing, because obviously I'm going through a beginner stage. So I understand it, but he's a professional Premier League official. He does VAR, does fourth official. He's obviously refereeing in a high capacity, and I don't know what has possessed him. It looks to me as if he's drunk or something, or when he's done that video, and then he's obviously come to mind straight away and thought, right, I don't want that video to go out anyway. What would go through your head to do something like that? And that's just if you were in a 9 till 5 job.
Yeah.
So being in a high-profile match official for the Premier League, what would even possess you to do anything like that?
I mean, he's among friends as well.
Nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
But they're unprofessional because you're a Premier League referee. You don't have a bias towards anyone. So I'm not speaking to him. Whether you have that personal feeling towards a different... Because I'm sure there'll be plenty of WhatsApps and plenty of conversations with Premier League managers going, that manager does my head in.
Yeah.
And with players alike, because he obviously has a favour. He obviously took a liking to James Milner. He went, James Milner's a good guy, and obviously didn't like Klopp. So I'm sure there's lots of WhatsApps and conversations with match officials and VAR assistants going, I can't stand that manager, I can't wait for him to be sacked. I bet that goes on, but they keep it within house, do you know what I mean? They're professional about it, because everyone's got an opinion about a certain individual or a certain, obviously, match official or manager. Everyone's got an opinion on football, that's the beauty of the game, but you keep it to yourself or within reason. You don't start doing videos and sending them out like that, and he deserves everything he gets, because it's totally unprofessional in my opinion.
Well, he obviously seems to be among friends, you know, that guy, I don't know who he is, whether he's the one who's released
much of a
it.
friend, is he?
No, I know, exactly. So he obviously felt comfortable enough, whether he was, you know, intoxicated or not. It's a very strange one. The fact that it's only just come out now as well, and it's after the fact that he refereed the game against Liverpool. So I don't know whether someone was waiting for the opportune moment.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this was the opportune moment, but regardless of that, it's surfaced, it's resurfaced, it's come out. I mean, you know, it's only an opinion, Tony, but does he deserve to keep his job? Does he deserve to be sacked?
No, he's got to be sacked.
Yeah.
And I don't like anyone getting sacked. Seriously, don't. But you're unprofessional.
But he can never go to Anfield again, could he?
Can't do Liverpool games.
Yeah.
So obviously, but the situation Liverpool are in at the moment is that he can't referee any games that have anything towards any interfering with Liverpool. So we can't do Manchester City games, can't do Arsenal games. So he's going to find himself with whoever Arsenal are playing, he can't do that. Whoever Liverpool are playing, he obviously can't do that. Yeah. And then he can't. So there's six teams he's not doing. So he's going to be, and you can't have him on VAR either.
No,
because he's obviously interfering in it. So he deserves to be sacked, in my opinion. He really, because you've got a bias towards someone, whether it be from the football club or the manager or the the geographic where they're from, because obviously he doesn't like Scousers, didn't like Klopp because he says he was arrogant. You've got a bias to not towards him, so he's going to be given every. He cannot. Whatever you dress it up, he cannot be officiating in the Premier League anymore. He can't.
I'm glad you said Premier League there, because I was going to ask, and I'm not defending him in any way, shape or form, but are you saying he should be sacked completely, no job, or does he take a backwards step? I don't know what administrative jobs there are, for the PGMOL. Or
Then he's going to have a bias.
No, exactly. All right, can he manage in the Championship? Can he manage in any other lower leagues? Not manage, sorry. Can he referee in them, in your opinion?
No, I think because you've shown unprofessionalism towards the majority of match officials. Now imagine all them match officials who were, they're doing a really good job in the Premier League. It's tough. It's really tough out there, being a match official in the Premier League. But imagine all them, how they felt when that message went out. Like, he's let them down as well.
Yeah.
Let the PGMOL down. He's let a lot of people down.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? There's always a lot of talk, certainly on social media, and certain fans, when decisions go against them, there's always a big uproar about, it's corrupt, blah, blah, blah.
Listen,
this doesn't help the situation, though, does it?
Of course, and listen, we more than most last season, in terms of what we went through, we were saying, hang on, they've got it in for us, and I'm sure every single football club and the sets of supporters,
Arsenal have been saying it recently.
Arsenal have been saying it, Man United, Liverpool, they were all saying the same thing. They've got it in for us, that referee, that certain referee. I'm obsessed, well, not obsessed as such, but I think Craig Pawson's got something in for us in particular. But that's like by the by, because I'm sure there'll be another set of supporters that will go, that referee always hates us and that goes against us. And if every football club thinking the same, there's obviously nothing towards. But when you've got a Premier League match official that is saying them things, he cannot continue. He cannot continue because he's damaged the PGMOL, he's damaged his colleagues, he damaged the Premier League. He cannot step foot on any football pitch anymore with a whistle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, an investigation is still taking place, so we don't know what the outcome
in my
of
opinion,
that.
by the way.
No, obviously, is going to be. I think there was a suggestion early on by Mirror journalist, was it Darren Lewis, that he denied it at first. I think I think that had come out that he said it wasn't him, and then to be honest, when that
probably couldn't remember if it was him.
Well, he said that he couldn't remember it, but when that came out and I watched the video again, I was like, God, is that really AI? No, genuinely, it's like,
I know. They're that good now, aren't they, in this day and age?
But I think he has come out now, and
I wouldn't be surprised, Ian, that if you see him in another sport
as an official, maybe an umpire or something like that.
Cricket. Wouldn't be surprised.
But they're talking about having the Ashes at Bramley Moore, aren't they? So you never know.
That's the rugby, isn't it? But I know I wouldn't be surprised if you see David Coote as a cricket umpire.
Interesting. Watch this space. Okay, then we'll talk about a little bit of transfer news that was circulating this morning, and I noticed on Twitter. So apparently, there's been significant interest in France in taking Jake O'Brien on loan this season. I think this comes from Paddy Boyland, who suggested that the current plan is for him to stay at Everton and keep developing. I'd be very, very disappointed, maybe even I could use the word annoyed, if Jake O'Brien was to go out on loan. I mean, I guess right now, because he's not playing and the way the pecking order lies, there's 3 ahead of him. So you would see it as maybe not the worst, but why on earth, if this is the case, have we brought Jake O'Brien in for the money that I know it's not the full 18 million, but why have we brought him in if he's not going to be playing, week in, week out, when that money could have been better spent on a forward, a right back, a left back?
You are probably speaking on behalf of many Evertonians out there saying exactly the same thing. If this does happen, and even if it doesn't happen, we've got a player who wasn't kicking a ball even when the third choice centre-back wasn't fit. I think Michael Keane was injured at one stage, and then Branthwaite's obviously been injured. So why have Everton blown a quarter of the budget in the summer, whether that be over instalments? And this is one thing I find a little, not annoying as such, but when Everton make a transfer, it's over instalments, and I get it, but they're not the only football club that make transfers on instalments. There's a lot of Premier League football clubs don't go out there and spend 20 million on a player and go, right, there's the 20, it's in your bank on Monday. It doesn't work like that. It works over the periods of time, and obviously bonuses and appearances and all adds up. So Everton aren't the only football club that obviously sign players on the basis of long contracts and when making payments. So the Jake O'Brien one, in terms of where, especially with the way we're playing right now, when we've got a 4-choice centre-back, not kicking a ball, we've blew a quarter of our budget on, where we're struggling up top. We've got Calvert-Lewin's running between 2 or 3 centre-backs. We've got Iliman trying to take 2 or 3 players on, and that is it. You telling me we couldn't have said, you know what, we're all right. We've got Michael Keane, we've got Jared Brantwaite, we've got James Tarkowski. I'm sure there's another midfielder. We could fit another centre half. We're okay. Mikalenko can play centre back, as he's proven for Ukraine. So we're all right. We don't need Jake O'Brien. I think personally they may have panicked and thought Jared Brantwaite could be going to Manchester United here and get him in. I think they pretty much thought the same with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That's why they bought Brozian, because Brozian, where are we? 11th of November. And he hasn't kicked a ball for us.
Obviously been injured as well.
Obviously been injured, so we're thinking, let's get him in. And I get, obviously, the plan B, and that's how I want the football club to work going forwards. But it just smacks to me as if we blew a quarter of our budget on a player we did not need when we were so desperately needed up front in an attacking third. We've been left found wanting. Well, we scored 2-3 goals in the last 5 or 6 games. It's been horrendous to watch up front, and you need Dominic Calvert-Lewin needs support. Iliman needs support, and there's not much else in that team that's willing to provide support for them. We could have done with another number 10 or another winger in there rather than Jake O'Brien, in my opinion.
Seen that suggested a couple of times about O'Brien. The reason he was brought in now was because I guess you could look at it twofold. One, we maybe panicked a little bit and thought, oh, Brantwaite's off to United. The summer just gone. There was another suggestion, so we need to bring him in. There was another suggestion that we were bringing him in a year early, even though we were fully expecting to keep Brantwaite behind closed doors, and that Brantwaite would leave potentially next summer for a higher fee, 70-80 million pounds or something like that, and then at least O'Brien would have. He's bedded into the club. He's played a couple of times, and it's not just like a new starter. No, that's what I mean. So that's what I was going to come on to. I was going to say, well, forget next summer. Right now, it was all about this summer and what we should have done, and what we could have done to get the most out of the budget that we had, to basically keep us in the Premier League, to consolidate on what was, a solid enough season last season. It's just, I mean, bearing in mind these are all, just transfer rumours and at this moment in time, so there's nothing concrete on this. I would suggest that Paddy Boyland is a good source for Everton content and Everton transfer news. I would just be very, again, disappointed and, dare I say, annoyed if he was to go out on loan, because that money could have been better spent elsewhere.
Totally agree. I think from what we've seen, Michael Keane's played ahead of him, Jared Brantwaite, our fit, has played ahead of him, so which begs the question, he's not probably looking anywhere near Premier League level in training.
Okay, well, we'll finish off then before we do, Tony. Final thoughts then. International break coming up. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing for Everton?
Does it really affect Everton? There's not many internationals in the squad. Do you think like the base of it?
Yeah. In terms of getting players back fit, or I guess, but obviously Brantwaite's been called up to the England squad now.
Brantwaite's been called up to the England squad. He's only played 1 game in the past 5 or 6 weeks, so obviously they're checking in on him.
Needs a bit of match sharpness, probably.
Yeah, of course, yeah. He's probably picked up a couple of muscle stains and whatnot, but obviously we're not playing that much. I don't know. I don't think anything's going to change really. No. What you may get James Garner, maybe a lot more. Better prepared for the next game against Brentford, but apart from that, I think we're not going to see. Where is that? You've got other managers may, I don't know, plan something totally different for the next game. I don't think you'll see the majority of players back at Finch Farm. I think Ashley Young will be there, James Tarkowski, Michael Keane, Jake O'Brien. Obviously Jordan Pickford won't be there, but the nucleus of the midfield. I'm not sure if Mangala got called up for Belgium, but Decore will be in there. Jack Harrison will be at Finch Farm. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be. So large majority of the squad will still be at Finch Farm. Yeah. They'll have the down days, but I don't think, regardless of the break, we're not going to see anything different from this Everton team from what we're seeing in the last couple of weeks. It's going to be the same setup. It's going to be the same attack and prowess. And what I mean by that is it's going to be Iliman, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and then maybe we'll see. The only good thing to come from it, we'll probably see Dwight McNeil come back into the fold again. Yeah. So it's like that's like 2 weeks where he just missed 1 game. So Yeah, there's positives and negatives to it, to be honest, but it gives us another 2 weeks to maybe look ahead to Brentford, which I'm sure Sean Dyche, looking at the games that we've had in the previous couple of weeks, it would have earmarked as one we've got to be taking 3 points from, because when we've lost against Southampton and we've drew against West Ham and we drew against Fulham at home when we were very lucky, he probably would have thought we'd get 3 points out of one of them. It hasn't happened.
And other teams around us won as well.
Exactly, other teams around us won, and not just that, Everton are effectively in December playing in the Champions League. They're playing in the Champions League.
Definitely play the Champions League music
exactly,
as we come out.
Yeah, that's the only closest we're going to get to it, aren't we? We are playing Champions League teams in December, and we can't moan, because the games that we've had in the first 10, 11, 12, 13 were all winnable, or teams that you should be thinking, right, hang on, we've got to be taking more points than what's being put on the board at the moment. I think it's 10 points from 11 played, which is not good. After Brentford, I think it's Manchester United, isn't it? And then the derby's coming up as well. And listen, maybe, I don't want to sound negative here, so I'll put a bit of a positive spin on it. Maybe we do need one of them big games at Goodison, dare I say, a Merseyside derby. All of a sudden, imagine beating Liverpool at Goodison in the last Goodison derby. The change of feeling around Goodison, that could change your season completely. And what happened, I think, towards the back end of last season, we got a big win. I can't remember who it was, and then all of a sudden we beat Brentford, and we won like 3 or 4 on the spin, and it kept us up. So I'm hoping that one of these big teams, we could go to Old Trafford. Being now with you and I am obviously Amarim in charge now. That's unlikely, because
is that his first game, or is that
they've got Ipswich, Manchester United? Yeah, so it'll be obviously his.
At least that's out the way. The
exactly,
first game.
Yeah. Get his first 3 points against Ipswich.
Was it his first home game? It'll be his first home game, won't it? Against Everton.
It may be. So I think what we're looking at is that Amarim will be in charge against Everton, and it's a game where you'll probably, from a supporter perspective, going, right, I'll take a point here. But who knows, a big performance against the United, against the Liverpool, against the City, against an Arsenal, it changes, and all of a sudden the confidence comes back into the club, and the players go, hang on, and all of a sudden the fans go, hang on, and that's all it takes. It takes one big performance, and it can change it on a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for reference there, his first game is, you're right, is against Ipswich away, but then his first home game is at the Europa League. So United play probably Thursday, is it? Ahead of our game.
We've got the Sunday game on the 1st of December against United.
That week's huge for us, isn't it, when you think about it?
Oh, it's massive. It's absolutely massive.
Man United, Wolves, then Liverpool. Obviously Brentford first, who haven't won an away game all season, as we first mentioned.
Southampton hadn't won a game all season until he played Everton. I think, as I've just touched on, we need to beat Brentford.
It's a must-win game, and I get criticised a lot for saying it's a must-win game. It's not a must-win game in the sense that, like, it was a Bournemouth where if we didn't win, we were going to get relegated. It's not that. It's obviously not that. But I think for me, a lot of the fans have turned on Sean Dyche anyway. So I think maybe that has passed, or that ship has sailed, if you want to use a cliche. I think a win doesn't necessarily get the fans back on side, but it obviously just gives us a little bit of relief. Because, effectively now, if we lose a game against Brentford, teams have caught up now. We could quite feasibly end up in the relegation zone come after Brentford, after that weekend.
Oh, yeah. And that's the worry, that when we all thought Leicester's, Palace's, Wolves picked up a win themselves during the weekend. We thought these teams...
3 points against Wolves.
Exactly. We thought these teams were dead and buried. Ipswich have got to win. Southampton have got to win. Wolves have got to win. Palace had won themselves, and all of a sudden you're going, hang on here. Do you know, we thought them teams were dead and buried. We've got that comfort blanket between us and the relegation teams. But when you're going into December and you're playing Liverpool, you're playing United, you're playing City, you're playing Arsenal, Everton won't have that comfort blanket come then, so they need to beat Brentford. I agree with you. It's a must-win on the basis of the performances and the results in the previous 11 games when we've had the easiest run out the lot, and with the games we've got coming up, all Champions League teams, we need to beat Brentford. It's a must-win game. A draw won't be good enough because we've got them games coming up.
Okay, well, we will leave it there. Thank you, Sony, for coming on as usual. Please remember to give us a like and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, give us a subscribe. Your support for the channel is greatly appreciated. We're also on Apple and Spotify, so go and leave us some reviews and follow us on those audio platforms as well. I've been Ian Croll, joined by Tony Scott, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.